Up at 5:30 this morning, set off when it's pitch black. Oh, it's a bit of a trek. What a fantastic morning for it though. Look at this morning. I've got about 30 minutes before high tide and I've just got to get across this causeway, if that's what it is. I'm only a minute away or so, but yeah. Anyway, right. Morning guys and welcome to this week's video. Welcome to episode 2 in this series. In this video I'll be concentrating on long exposure photography. If you missed episode 1, by the way, I'll leave you a link at the end of this video. This is Spurn Head, a bit of a favourite place of mine to come to, especially for long exposure photography or fine art photography as well. A couple of reasons why I'm here this weekend. One is because I've got a sponsored weekend to look forward to. Nissi is sponsoring a weekend for me and a whole bunch of guys this coming Saturday and Sunday, well tomorrow and Sunday, and I thought I'd come down a day earlier just to put my 19-pound camera to the test again. And the reason, or a second reason why I've come here, is because over my shoulder there is a location that I photographed, I think it was last year or maybe the year before. Yeah, probably just before COVID actually. It's amazing that COVID thing is a bit of a timeline, isn't it? You can always gauge where you were before and after it. So I was here just over 2 years ago now then, and I grabbed a few shots of these groins and turned it into a fine art image. So hence the reason why I thought I'd come here today and put my camera to the test. And a good test I think it will be. So as always, let me just give you a bit of a background, a bit of a timeline. 5 to 7 now. Sunrise was at 6:45. Yeah, enough about that. So that was a bit of a non-entity. Fingers crossed it'll be a bit better for the guys this coming weekend. It's a fairly high tide as well, and I had to coincide the high tide with sunrise. Now the only problem is, at the moment the high tide is a little bit too high for me to try and grab this shot. For me, what I like about this shot is the green fishing net that dangles down from the first groin. I think it's a real good point of interest. Unfortunately, at this present moment in time, the tide is a little bit too high, and we've still got another 20 minutes of the tide coming in. But that's fine, because what I'll do is I'll grab a couple of shots from a higher perspective, and then as the tide goes out, as and when I feel the tide height is right, I'll go down onto the beach and try and replicate the shot that I captured here a couple of years ago. And like I said on my first video, I'm going to try and break down what I'm doing, my thought processes, how I go about taking the shot, more and more in the coming videos. This of course being a coming video. Right, first things first then, a higher perspective. I'm going to grab my camera, wander across and look for a composition. Nothing any more complicated than that. Right, as always, good sturdy tripod. Make sure it's on solid ground and not on the grass. Camera rock solid on a tripod. I'm using the 24 to 105mm lens. I need that extra reach, that's all. And I'm going to try my best to get it level. And then the hard bit. Camera to the eye, look for the composition. I'm going to go for something like that. Next, I'm going to go for that focus point. Once it's in focus, lens to manual. Let's get that composition right, make sure everything is tightened off. There you go, that's rock solid, and that isn't going to move a jot. That's good. is a combination of rain and sea fret. So as always when you're by the sea, this is going to prove to be a little bit difficult, but I'm going to get my camera set up for the first shot. Okay, so no filters on at the moment. ISO 100. I'm at f8, and remember, I can't check my histogram on this camera until after I've taken a picture. So I'm going to use my light meter that's built into the camera. Now the light meter is saying that I've got a perfect exposure at 1/8 of a second, which is perfect because I'm going to use my 10-stop filter, and 1/8 of a second will translate to 2 minutes. So f8, in actual fact, it's now saying it's a little bit dark, so I'm just going to open that aperture a bit more. 7.1, so 1/8 of a second, ISO 100 at f7.1. Remember, 1/8 of a second will translate to 2 minutes when I drop my 10-stop filter on the front of the lens. Right, a quick calculation tells me that the water height seems to be about right. This angle here seems to be about okay. I might move slightly closer to you, but this looks okay. So I'm going to go through my setup once again in the normal way. Whoa! Right, let's see if I can just grab that shot just as is. Wait for the water to start to recede, or a crashing wave. Again, not the best of pictures on the back of this camera, but that looks fine. At this stage I thought it would be a more interesting experiment to see the quality of images at various shutter speeds. First I applied a 6-stop filter and captured a 6-second image. I then applied my 10-stop filter and captured pictures at 1 and 2 minute exposures. That's looking quite good, that. Now, a couple of things that I think could possibly be wrong with this image. I can't obviously tell from the back of the camera, but hotspots, burnt pixels is usually a problem with modern day cameras, let alone 17-year-old technology. So pushing, I would say, this technology to the extreme that I am pushing it to, over a 2 minute exposure, then if ever there was going to be a time when maybe the images weren't comparable to today's cameras, then it's going to be now. Or certainly maybe the images will be full of hotspots, I don't really know. So it's quite a cool experiment to do. But on the back of the camera as is right now, that apart from obviously the poor quality on the back of the camera, that is looking quite nice. I just want another composition moving slightly further to the left. And also there's 2 white rocks ahead of me. The tide is at that time now where it's just whooshing around, so I'm just going to go forward, do a 2 minute exposure, exactly the same here, and then move slightly further to the left. So another couple of shots from me. What a fantastic subject to photograph, it really is. Pushing my 19-pound camera to its limits, to the extreme, shall we say, using long exposures this week. 15 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute, and a 2 minute exposure. I have no idea what these images are going to look like. I can't tell on the back of the camera because the screen is pants, like I mentioned on last week's video. But before I check it out, once again, just bear in mind, it's really, really old technology. But I was super excited and very surprised by the images that came out last week, and hopefully it'll be the same this week as well.